Okay, so we're back taking a look now at Owl and Weasel number 3. This is from April of 1975. Here is the front page of this newsletter, and once again, 8 pages total. Here's the little top section. It says, Owl and Weasel is probably the only magazine in the world entitled Owl and Weasel, and it comes to you, whether you like it or not, at regular intervals, once a month from the secret hideout of a completely unknown company called Games Workshop. It pretends to cover all aspects of the games world and offers reviews, news, puzzles, and secondhand games for sale. Needless to say, you could have spent your money more wisely, but if you insist on being foolish, here we go. Inside this time, we take a look at Roman Circus Chariot Race, new in their shop, an editorial, Kingmaker, chess, baseball strategy, a new crossword puzzle, and again, the notice board. First up is the Roman Circus Chariot Race. This is created by a company called Sky Treks. They call it their light-hearted attempt to recreate some of the incidents and excitement of the races in game format. So it's a board game. He says it's a little cheap compared to stuff you might get from Avalon Hill at this point, and it's only £1.60, I think is the way we say that. You'll need some paper to keep track of what you're doing, and then you basically use dice, if I'm not mistaken here, to determine how your chariot is going around in the race. And so Ian's conclusion is, if you are not afraid of death, do not mind considerable dice throwing and table reference. If you're looking for an inexpensive and fun game, the circus is for you. New in the shops, there's Jeu de Paris Metro, manufactured by Clipper, and Amsterdam Canals, manufactured by Mako. Another game that's been released by Aladdin is called Triples. It has wooden pieces, and there's a slightly cheaper version with plastic pieces you can also get. Okay, here is the editorial, and this time it's by Ian. So Ian wants to tell you a little bit about the company, which is quite small at this point. Steve Jackson, John Peake, and Ian. Sometimes with some help, I think, from Vicky Jackson, who just does a little bit of art. They do have a new product they're putting out, which is a lovely Go board made in Japanese oak that you could use alongside other board games like backgammon and chess. And as he says here, John Peake is the person who sort of designs this and that does the woodworking actually in the shop of Games Workshop. And finally, he puts out a call that if you are a game inventor, they are very interested in publishing new games, so you should reach out to them. And here's a little cartoon at the bottom. Don't just sit there playing with yourself. Advertise for opponents through Owl and Weasel. I think that's Ian Livingstone's art. Kingmaker, a review by John Poole. This is a new game by a company called Filmar, which is designed in such a way that no game and no move will be exactly like another. And the review says, we agree, but feel that much of the variability comes from an uncertainty as to what many of the rules actually mean. And he says they had a kernel of a good idea, but the designers didn't really put in the time and effort to bring their good idea to life in a game that's going to be a lot of fun and understandable to play. It says he thinks it suffers from lack of probably play testing and resulting rule clarity that's needed. But they're proud to see that there's something being made here in England. All right, so now we have an article on chess. We've got this long description of one of their friends named John McCallion, who returns from an 18-month working holiday, and he basically goes through and explains a game of chess that he played while he was over in Sri Lanka back in December of 1974. But that's it, just an explanation of how a particular game of chess was played out. Next, we have Baseball Strategy. This is a game from Avalon Hill. And so essentially this is a game that allows you to be the manager and play out a game of baseball. You have different cards, you pick your players, the other player picks his players for the game, of course one of which is a pitcher, and so he will decide what pitch he wants to make against your batter. There's a chart you can figure out, did you get a base hit, a home run, strike, whatever it is. And you basically play out a game of baseball, and he thinks it's just great. Now obviously, someone being from the UK, the first thing you have to do is actually understand the game of American baseball. But once you understand how that game is played, then he says this is actually a fantastic game to buy and enjoy. I think I remember Tim Cass talking about how much he really liked this game. I have another crossword puzzle here, and again, answers for last month's crossword puzzle. The notice board, addresses and names for people if you wanted to get a hold of them to play different types of games. And then I think the first appearance of this little cartoon character, very similar perhaps to a famous American character, but slightly different, by Ian Livingstone. And this was, at least in some part, the mascot for Games Workshop for a little while before it evolved a few times through the years. And again, we have a number of advertisement, railway rivals, fringe games, feudal clans, ad for Wargames Research Group, and then more ads for different products from fringe games. And then a little subscription thing here you could cut out and send back in if you want to subscribe to Owl and Weasel. Short and sweet. Once again, that's our look at Owl and Weasel number 3. Stick around. Up next is the final in today's video series, and that'll be Owl and Weasel number 4.